And you're live.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting of the Monday, February 22nd, 2021 Marshall Public Schools Board of Education business session to order. And Kimberly, can you please take the roll?
President Richard Lindsay.
Here.
Vice President Carrie Nicholson.
Here.
Secretary Lisa Middleton.
Here.
Treasurer Larry Williams. Trustee Matt Davis.
Here.
Trustee Shauna Gamble. And Trustee Amanda Lankard.
Here.
All right, let's start with our moment of silence. And let's see, Amanda, can you lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. I'm going to just change one thing to modify item 3, that it's not going to be limited to agenda items. It will be anything that the audience would like to address the board, so we can take care of the people that are waiting right now. With that change, I would accept a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Point of clarification, Richard.
Yes.
Do you want to keep 8 under public comment at the end as well, or do you want to just collapse them together?
I think let's just collapse them together and just have one public comment. I'm thinking this will take care of people's comments. Okay. I guess unless anybody has any thoughts to the contrary.
That's exactly what I was thinking when I made the motion.
Well done, Mr. Davis. Do we have a second for Matt's motion?
Support.
All right, a motion support. Any discussion? All right, Amanda?
Yes.
Shauna? Shauna there. All right, Matt?
Yes.
Larry? Are we missing a couple people? I'm not seeing Larry in here.
No, Larry has not joined us yet.
Okay, Lisa?
Yes.
Carrie?
Yes.
And Richard, yes. All right, motion carries. So we're gonna, next item on the agenda is members of the audience may address the board on agenda items only. Since I'm not sure that people are gonna be able to hear this actually in the waiting room. We have our public participation is governed by one of our board rules, and public participation shall be permitted as indicated in the agenda. Anyone with current concerns related to the operation of the schools within the authority of the board may participate during the public portion of the meeting. Each statement by the participant shall be limited to 3 minutes duration, and we'll be timing that. No participant may speak more than once. Participants shall direct all comments to the board and not to staff or other participants. And also, as a presiding officer, I have the ability to prohibit public comments which are frivolous, repetitive, or harassing, to interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant statement when it's too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. And a couple other things that don't apply because we're being held in a Zoom meeting. So with that as introduction, I wanted to also just mention we have a number of people that are in public comment, and this has come about kind of over discussion over the weekend, and this arose over a couple of parents that brought to the attention of a couple board members sign that was being placed on the cafeteria window at the high school. There was some discussions about that. It was we decided in kind of taking a look at what had happened, because the board wasn't involved in that decision, was we were kind of told what the process was, and it was actually the NAACP had prepared a plan of what they wanted to do relative to this design and this work for the window. It was kind of vetted through various individuals and then presented to the principal of the high school, Dave Turner. He then approved it and then went forward. It's since been completed over the weekend. It was put together. So we have a number of people that have commented, had actually a vigorous debate on Facebook over the last couple of days about this, and we would, encouraging everybody to obviously be civil, but we're interested to hear what people have to say about this, and this is obviously their chance to speak to the board about this. We also don't engage any public comment, any people making public comment, so we are here to listen. And Randy, is there anything I've missed at this point?
Yeah, just reinforcing that we're not here to answer questions by the commentators, that we take notes and we pay attention to the comments, and Richard, you and I review, and if you have any direction by board members through you or directly to me that I need to follow up on anything particular, you'll let me know that, and we'll have that discussion for the following board session.
Very good. All right, thank you, Randy. With that, can we have the first person making public comment?
And the first person I'm letting in, going from top to bottom, is Christy Barrett.
You're on, Christy.
So is she going to show up on the screen?
She is on the screen.
I believe I'm on the screen.
Oh, okay. You're the phone number, I bet. Okay, go ahead. Please go ahead.
Am I the
have
phone
3
number? I
minutes.
shouldn't be. I can change. No, it doesn't look like a phone number, but thank you. All right. I just have a few things to say. My name is Christy Barrett, and I've had 3 children attend Marshall Public Schools spanning.
Can hear you just fine, Christy.
Christy?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm having tech issues.
Okay.
My audio just went out. Hold on.
All right.
Okay, I'm back. All right, I've had kids at Marshall Public Schools spanning 23 years about. Good. As a concerned citizen, I wanted to speak out about what's happening now with the controversy of the Black Lives Matter issue at the high school. All right, I've had kids at Marshall Public Schools spanning 23 years about. Good. As a concerned citizen, I wanted to speak out about what's happening now with the controversy of the Black Lives Matter issue at the high school. Okay, sorry about that. I'm fading in and out tech-wise, but okay, I'll continue. I have not been a part of the ongoing debate on Facebook, but I understand that some in the community have taken great exception to the Black Lives Matter in Schools mural that was designed just to spark dialogue and sharing amongst the students and faculty members and administrators. I continue to be amazed, but really not surprised by that opposition to the phrase Black Lives Matter, and I'll refer to that as BLM sometimes in the future. But why am I not surprised? I think if we look back on the civil rights movement now, we would say that it was a good thing, but much of the same criticism that's being leveled against the Black Lives Matter movement now is the same that the criticisms that the civil rights movement in the 60s encountered. And although many of us look back on those protests and marches and sit-ins as a really good thing, as they were happening, the vast majority of white people found them to be unhelpful. I hear people talking about Black Lives Matter, meaning that no one else matters, and I don't believe that. I also just believe that's simply not the case. Any more than when we say, like, lettuce is a vegetable. That doesn't mean that celery is not also a vegetable. But on a more serious note, we must all continue to support Black Lives Matter until all Black lives matter as much as other lives in education, healthcare, employment, housing, criminal justice, and all other aspects of life. And that's simply and painfully not the case. And while the negative impacts on Black and Brown people are much more severe and they're life altering, it also has a negative effect on us all. And I would ask you to look up Heather McGee's research on the economic data that says that discriminatory laws and practices that target African Americans are also really bad for all of society at large. So even if you find the methods of protest or the conversations not to be to your liking, I'd encourage you to remember that our schools have to be the safe places for our students to engage in the issues of the day, and that they should be able to do that without the fear of retribution, but with an open mind and heart. And I hope that we all of us that are older, some of us much older, model that same care and ability to engage in dialogue with each other. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. You must have had that timed. You hit 3 minutes exactly. All right. Please let our next public comment person in.
As Katie Reed, so it'd be Derek Allen.
Is it Katie or Derek?
Or, I'm sorry, I just saw. Oh yeah, Katie. Sorry, I apologize.
Yeah, Katie's up.
Oh, okay.
All right, Katie Reed, please go ahead.
Unmute yourself.
Thanks, everybody. I just want to take a few minutes, just a few moments to say.
Katie Reed, so it'd be Derek Allen.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, I think we
Okay.
can. Katie,
Yes.
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think you're gonna need to turn off your YouTube because it's gonna cycle through because it's on a lag. So if you go ahead and shut that off, then
I've got
should
it.
work. Perfect.
Anyways, everyone, just a few moments to say I support the board and its leadership on this. I support the students, and I support the phrase Black Lives Matter and what the movement stands for. So thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you very much, Katie.
Now I'll let in Derek Allen.
Derek,
Is still connecting to audio.
It's connecting, yeah. All right, Derek Allen, welcome. Please go ahead. Derek, can you hear us?
there he is.
There he is. Derek Allen, welcome. Please go ahead. Derek?
Derek, your audio is not working. We're not having Derek. Can we go on and give him a chance to come back?
He has the link, so he should be able to rejoin. Next I'm gonna add Garrett Brown.
All right. Oh, there you are. Mr. Brown, welcome. Please go ahead. Mr. Brown, can you hear us? Mr. Brown? What a weird world this is. There.
Can you hear me?
Here we go.
Yes, yes. Hello.
Okay, yeah, there's a little lag.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Well, I wanted to. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Oh, okay. I wanted to thank the board for the statement. I agree with that. I think that ultimately the goal of a well-rounded education is to, not only just to be engaged with. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. You can hear me right now.
I think part of the problem is that people are having their YouTube on, they're catching a delay.
Yes,
About
that's what's
10-second delay. So maybe what we need to tell people to do is to turn off their YouTube when they start talking.
Yeah, I think I'm hearing the delay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, I'll do that. Thanks, Brent.
Okay. So I want to thank the board for the statement. I agree. As one of the other earlier presenters said, this really is analogous to the civil rights movement. And so when we look back at that footage and documents from that era, we say, well, wow, these people were really off in their thinking, and how could people hold those kinds of perspectives? But it has a weird way of kind of creeping back up, right? And so one of the things that I think the board should do is, part of the annexation was you had two different communities coming together, right? And I think that we still have a long way to go in terms of acknowledging the history, because as some of the commenters were saying, when I was in 10th grade in Albion, I had a 10th grade honors history course that was led by Robert Wall, and he had a whole section on the period in America right after Reconstruction, like Jim Crow and civil rights violence, right? And so these are topics that Albion students were exposed to. And so I think that really a lot of this, to me, is just really kind of the ignorance of not being exposed to the full breadth of like American history. So I think, one, I support the students. Two, I thank the board. But I think going forward, there really needs to be a commitment to really, not just making sure like this is happening in Black History Month, but that the breadth of American history, contributions of African Americans, and the suffering that African Americans have dealt with is reflected in the curriculum. And the last thing I'll say, I still think that the district should be renamed to Marshall Albion. I think there has to be that acknowledgement. So those are my comments tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Much appreciated. And who do we have next?
The next is it doesn't have a name. It just says Galaxy Note 9. So it's their phone.
Is that person on?
They're joining right now.
Okay.
Oh, it's Mr. Dial.
Is that Mr. Giles?
It is.
Okay. Mr. Giles, please go ahead.
Good evening. There has been much said over the past several days regarding the mural and other displays for students of color from Marshall High School. The message that was promoted was not to enrage or perpetuate a political stand, but was one of students attempting to articulate their feelings to a situation and conditions that they feel is counterproductive to their growth and development right here and right now. Until the greater Marshall community works to erase the racist and separatist acts of members from this school district and community, it will continue to perpetuate mistrust within communities of color, which are now a strong part of this district. Until members of the greater Marshall community and staff within this district stop referring to students and parents from Albion as those Albion parents or those Albion students, you will continue to have mistrust and wounds that will never heal. That is a part of the message folks should have gotten in part from this display. The discussion of Black Lives Matter is a discussion that entails all folks of color. High school students will soon be going out into a world as adults, either perpetuating the truth or continue perpetuating the untruth and lies as it relates to folks of color. It is easy to perpetuate hate and mistrust. It is harder to work for the better good of all. It is time for this community and district to heal and work for a clear understanding amongst all its residents. Race and the discussion of race is a hard subject for most folks to handle. Avoiding this conversation only continues to make the gap of understanding widen. It is time to narrow and erase that gap altogether. This is food for thought. When students of color have issues and concerns about race or situations here in Marshall Public Schools, tell me who they can go to with folks who look like them. There should be an effort to have more folks of color, all folks of color, be a part of Marshall Public Schools' overall staffing. I personally applaud the students and their sponsors at the high school. You made the hard right decision and not the easy wrong one. This district and board should support you, and I appreciate your time that you have given me to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Giles. And who do we have next?
Next is Jack Reed.
I know Jack Reed, and that is not.
That is no Jack Reed.
Okay, I don't think it's Jack Reed. Lisa Reed, you're welcome. Please speak.
Can you unmute yourself?
And actually, Lisa, let me tell you, make sure you turn your YouTube recording off too, because you end up with, if you're watching it on YouTube.
And then unmute yourself on the right or left. Thank you.
Did I get
There
it?
you go.
Yep.
Yes,
Okay.
please go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to applaud the kids. It's really a hard time right now. And to be able to come out and say, we're going to discuss this, and not just as one or two students, but as a group of students, I think it's all about education and about learning more about each other. And quite frankly, over the last few days, we've heard a lot of cussing and discussing, but there's been cussing and discussing, and I would rather have that than not any discussion at all. Thank you, and continue with this. And I think we need to keep Black Lives Matter sign up. I think it's important because Black lives do matter. And I think that everybody will begin to understand with more conversation what that means. It doesn't mean anybody else doesn't matter. There's a whole philosophy behind it that needs to be understood. And I think there's a lot of kids that would like to explain the differences in cultures and how our lives are parallel but different. So great learning moment. Hope that the community embraces it, and maybe we can get the resiliency group back going and keep moving forward with that for the community. And thank you to everybody. Have a great night.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you very much.
I am going to add Derek Allen again. See if he.
I see you're unmuted, Derek. Can we hear you?
All right. Yes.
Please go ahead.
I am so sorry for the earlier technology issue. Good evening, everyone. My name is Derek Allen. I'm a resident of the beautiful city of Marshall and father to an amazing little guy who is a fifth grader at Gordon Elementary. I requested the opportunity to speak tonight in order to express my emphatic support for our students, specifically our youth NAACP chapter at Marshall High School and their recent efforts to raise awareness of and promote dialogue about challenges faced by marginalized people in our country, in part by painting a mural that states, Black Lives Matter at School. I am proud that our district under this board's and Dr. Davis's leadership and our high school under Mr. Turner's leadership is a learning environment where students are not sheltered from the realities of the world we live in but instead are encouraged and supported to engage in the highest levels of learning and critical thinking, grappling with complex issues, listening with curiosity to viewpoints that may be different from their own, and expanding their capacity to experience the reality of others. As a resident, it is important to me that the message is sent loud and clear to the many people who are paying close attention, especially our very own young people, that the vast majority of our community respects, supports, and understands the importance of this work. And it is work that is clearly something our community still needs to devote a great deal of attention to. Finally, as a parent, it is a must for me that my son grows up in a community and learns in a school system that recognizes, celebrates, and continually strives for greater diversity, equity, and inclusion. Black lives do in fact matter at school and everywhere else. Let us raise our voices collectively to ensure everyone knows that is where we unapologetically stand. Thank you for your time, consideration, and service to our community.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. And who do we have next?
Next will be Adam Henke.
Adam, are you with us?
Oh, there. Mr. Hankey, welcome. You have 3 minutes to speak, and please turn if you're watching this on YouTube, please turn that off while you're speaking because it picks up the time delay. Please go ahead.
Adam, you seem to be on.
Can you hear us, Adam? Please go ahead.
Adam, you were connected to audio. If you can unmute yourself. There you go.
Mr. Hankey, please go ahead if you're ready.
I'm just trying to figure out what's going on with all this Black Lives Matters in our school and why you guys feel the need to teach this kind of communism in our schools. It has nothing to do with Black history. I understand that February is Black History Month and students do need to be educated on that, but Black Lives Matters has nothing to do with Black history at all. I want to know why it's in the schools.
So,
All
Mr.
right,
Hankey,
we don't talk. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Randy.
Mr. Hankey, we're not answering questions right now. We're just taking public comment. So if you wanted to give us your opinion about that, that'd be great. We'll take note of it.
Okay, I don't feel that it needs to be in our schools at all. It's communism. Our kids don't need to be learning about this in our schools. It's not what our tax dollars go for. And I know there's several other parents that feel this way. If they speak up, that's on them. I hope they do. But I do not feel this needs to be in our schools.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Hankey. All right. And who do we have next?
Next, I'm not entirely sure who it is. It just says iPhone.
Hi, can you please introduce yourself? We don't have a name. And then also turn off your YouTube if you're watching on YouTube so it doesn't pick up.
Now all you have to do, there you go.
Did you hear what I just said?
No.
There you go. We can hear you.
Okay, great. So good evening, Red Hawks family. it was brought to our family's attention about the creation and display of the student project involving Black Lives Matter at our high school. I am concerned for the potential division this matter may bring among our students and possible imposed bias from some of our teachers. It is my hope that our teachers remain professional and maintain a neutral stance when it comes to political views. Not everyone shares the same beliefs in regards to the related meaning of Black Lives Matter. Some associate the meaning with the hate group who are accused of vandalizing property and violence. Either way, the statement Black Lives Matter has been proven controversial. My family moved to Marshall in 2014. It saddens me to admit that since living here, myself and members of my family, people of color, have been targeted with racial slurs. But it also brings me quite joy to have engaged and been embraced by so many more kind hearts. I don't deny racism continues to be an issue for Marshall Public Schools, but I do refuse to play the victim. Rather than displaying a sign which may cause more division among our students, how about implementing an intervention strategy that promotes unity? Perhaps intervention programs with Star Commonwealth or the ISD or something similar. Our students have just endured maybe the toughest year of their lives due to COVID. Some of their social skills are lacking. Some are faced with depression. They haven't been able to engage due to COVID restrictions. They're having to wear masks. Some are living in abusive situations where school is their safe place. They're missing out on dances, sports, and etc. It is my hope that the well-being of all of our students be considered in regards to this matter, and we all can agree on a goal to develop a plan to eliminate racism within our schools and community. I would appreciate the opportunity to volunteer my time to be part of the solution among hopefully many others who also share the same concerns. Thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Your name again?
Jessica Addis.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
The next in line is Jess Roberts.
All right, Ms. Roberts, can you hear me?
Yes, we can see you. You got to unmute.
Oh, wait, unmute.
I'm unmuted.
There you go. Now we
Thank
can hear you.
My name is Jess Roberts, and I am a parent of a Marshall High School senior and a resident of Albion. And I just wanted to come before you tonight. To just say how much can you all hear me?
Yeah, you need to turn off your streaming
off.
if you're watching.
Okay, great. They can hear me, Nels, just not you yet. Sorry. So I just wanted to come before you today to value the work of the students in putting up the Black Lives Matter mural. I wanted to recognize their bravery and their thoughtfulness, not only in painting that particular mural, but the bravery and thoughtfulness that is required of them every single day when they walk through the doors. And my hope is that as a result of this particular mural and the outpouring of support, that not only do we figure out ways of supporting and valuing our students in moments like this, but that we think hard with our hearts and our minds about how to support the students and their daily acts of showing up at Marshall High School. So thank you for having let me come and say as much, and I hope you all have a nice night.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And who do we have next?
Next is Jessica Kane.
Okay, Jessica, we can see you. If you can unmute there you go. You should be on.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And I have turned off my YouTube.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to the board for being here to listen to these comments. I want to echo some of the things that I heard, particularly Mr. Giles and Dr. Roberts say about the need not only to be open to the support of the students who painted the mural, but also to recognize that the mural was painted and the controversy that came from the mural indicates that there's a lot more that needs to be done. That Marshall's support of Black students and of diversity, equity, and inclusion doesn't end with support of the students painting a mural, but needs to go a lot further so that students can be recognized for their bravery and can be honored for their contributions to the Marshall High School community every day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Next
And
is
do we have-
John Cox.
John, you're almost there. If you can unmute your machine. There you go. I think we have you.
Okay.
Welcome, Mr. Cox. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I did email you earlier today, I think. I do want to applaud the efforts of the students and the support of the administration. I grew up in this town, graduated from Marshall High School. Quite a while. What light is it on? So.
John?
There we go. Yep, I'm here. You don't see the mute button until you called in. I do want to applaud the actions of the students and the support of the administration. The administration has come a long way since my days in Marshall High School, or even days of my children in Marshall High School. They're in their 40s now. It's come a long way, and I'm glad to see this happen. This started going so well tonight with people being supportive of the kids. And then you saw a couple of examples of some of this undercurrent that's been, I think, in Marshall since I grew up here. Throwing around terms that really don't have any meaning to the topic, like communism, hate group. Those are just deflections. It's just something to express that you disagree without explaining why. I heard a comment about about being divisive. And I would suggest that the way that Mr. Turner is approaching this with the students looks like path to unity, to the dialectic, synthesis or antithesis, synthesis or thesis, antithesis, synthesis. That through these discussions, we can be better equipped to do this. I know this undercurrent has been here for a while. In the last few years, as I said in my letter, they've had permission to act out again. And I'm so disappointed in some of the comments I've heard coming from this community. But more power to you. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Cox.
Next is Kathy Miller.
You say Chad Miller?
Kathy.
Oh, Kathy Miller. Yeah.
Kathy, you with us?
Okay, now you can hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, well, I'm not in my old age. I just want to support the kids and what they're doing, but I also want to give just a little background on our part. Our kids they were graduated back in the 80s, but also when we moved here, there were no African Americans living in Marshall, and it was kind of a rude awakening for my kids because they had grown up a little bit in Kalamazoo. And when I was a kid growing up, I grew up down in southern Indiana and was in a racially mixed group down there. And being young and naive, I didn't realize that there were that kind of prejudice down there, but I found out as I got older. I am enamored of the kids from Albion for their bravery in coming over here. I am enamored of our students at Marshall High School for how they have accepted everybody. I think the kids don't have as big a problem as most of our adults do. And I beg the adults to listen to the kids. I think that we are going through a time now with COVID and everything. It's very hard. I got grandkids who are going through a lot. So to give these kids the support when they're working on a project like this, I think it's really important. And the other thing is, somebody said earlier on this conversation, and I think that is a well said thing, is that, you know, it would not hurt to think about calling this the Marshall Albion School District. That might bring a lot of cohesiveness together. And I appreciate your time and your energies on the board. I thank you for your time. And good luck to you in this new year. And hopefully we'll get back to school as normal pretty soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy.
Next,
Who do we have next?
Kaden Granger.
Audra?
Good evening.
Welcome.
So my name is Audra Granger. I am the interventionist at the high school. I'm also the staff sponsor of our youth NAACP group. I wanted to give you a little insight into the happenings the last week. So we meet weekly to discuss all different topics and projects in our youth NAACP group. And a couple weeks ago, we started brainstorming how we could celebrate Black History Month during COVID times, which was very difficult, as is most things. Then one day in one of our meetings, a student was very excited and she suggested the murals, not just the Black Lives Matter murals, but quotes and inspirational items by people of color. And I could feel the energy shift. Our kids were excited. I said, okay, this is awesome. I'm going to set up a meeting with Mr. Turner tomorrow, and we're going to meet with him. We're going to see if this is something that we can do. Our students explain their plans, and I was so proud of them. They had diagrams. They knew what they needed, and I offered to purchase it out of my own pocket. And Mr. Turner offered to do so himself, and I'm so grateful. The students painted the next Wednesday, our fully virtual day. Again, the energy was high. We were laughing, we were talking, and painting and having a great time. And the students worked approximately 8 hours and still didn't have a chance to finish all the painting, but we're planning on coming back on Sunday. One by one, the students started contacting me about posts on social media. They were confused and hurt. It was devastated to watch them go from being proud to heartbroken. I talked through them one by one about the posts. And as a white person, I feel it's my job to stand up, to buffer what is being thrown at them, and I couldn't do that. So it was a great feeling to open Facebook and to see your statement of support on this matter. It was very surprising, and I just can't thank you enough. Our students were re-energized. They feel supported, they feel seen, they feel heard. I wanted to personally thank you for taking the stand for all of our students. I want to thank Dr. Davis for supporting our students
And I especially appreciate and want to thank Dave Turner. He has been unwavering in his support, and I don't think you realize how much this means to our students and the shift I have seen in my students after they read your support. Thank you. And I'm going to ask that our commenters on the Facebook page think twice before they make such hurtful comments. Our students are reading these. And the racial trauma that this is causing can stay with them for a long time. I apologize for getting emotional, but seeing how hurt our kids have been over this and their excitement change, it's been very hard. And this isn't about me, but I try really hard to support our students. So again, I just want to thank you.
Thank you, Audra.
Thank you very much.
Up next, we have, the name is Lori K-C/Calhoun.
Lori, you're on?
Thanks for
Welcome.
this opportunity. I've been a Marshall resident for over 30 years. Raised my children in the community, and I know my children would be right there with these students, helping with the mural, supporting them. I commend the board and the high school administration for giving them a voice, for supporting diverse expression. I don't think it's a surprise. Marshall continues to have a reputation of not being very welcoming overall as a community to people of color. As traumatic as the merging of the schools has been to especially the students of Albion, but also, the students of Marshall, I had hoped that merge would bring about a new chapter for the Marshall community as well, enabling us to be a more welcoming community. I had hoped to see the Albion Marshall Resiliency Project continue and thrive. Unfortunately, as a little bit of an outsider with my kids not in school here anymore, it doesn't seem like that much has changed. But I support these students. They are the ones that will lead our community where it needs to go. I have a grandson that will be attending school starting this fall, and I want this to be a community that attracts diverse populations for all of our students' sake, for all of our residents' sake. I want this to be a great place for all people to live and work and go to school, people of color. I want us to have a bright future, and I want this to be a community that I'm proud to claim as my residency. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next is Meg Vandenbos.
Welcome, Ms. Vandenbos. If you can hear me, please go ahead. You have to turn your mute off.
Meg, can you turn your mute off on your machine? We can see you, but we can't hear you. There you go. You with us?
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, so respectfully, I would just like to say, for the record, I love everybody, and I was personally attacked on the entire Facebook post, and people are allowed to have their opinions, and that's fine. But I am not racist, and I love everybody, and I don't think there's a problem if you want to call the school Marshall Albion and make them feel more included. That would be amazing if that would make some of the division go away. However, I think that this situation has created more division, and I have a lot of respect for the school board, and I watch a lot of the school board meetings. But I think that respect needs to go both ways. We have families in this community and families in the school who their children are police officer children. And those children are offended when they walk by and they see people talking about police who are killing people because of the color of their skin. That is not the kind of community we live in. That is not what police officers do. And then these children are being told that they cannot support what they believe in as well. So like saying Blue Lives Matter or All Lives Matter, they don't get to say that. February is Black History Month. Marshall Academy did an amazing thing for their kids where they made a, what is it called again? Periodic table of all the people who have been in history, who have been of color, of Black or brown, and have done amazing things for our country. And they had each kid make a spot of the periodic table from each grade and say, what did this person do? What did Martin Luther King Jr. do? What did Oprah Winfrey do? What did Michelle Obama do? That is how you celebrate Black history. That is how you celebrate our differences. That is how you celebrate how amazing the world is because of our differences. I have a lot of different heritages in me. I don't need to go over it all here and there. But it is ridiculous that this created this division. And I feel like it was perpetuated by the Facebook post. I feel like we can honor the kids and their opinion, but these same children are commenting on people's things saying, why don't you shut up and die? And I agree with the girl who spoke earlier. There's a better way to do this. There's a better way to teach these kids how to voice their opinion. These kids are depressed. They are hurting. They are suffering. And they're not able to communicate well because of COVID. They're losing out on a lot of things. And we can't do this to them. So thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Meg.
Thank you. And who do we have next?
Next is Meredith Meter.
Not able to communicate well because
Meredith, you're on.
you're losing out on a lot of things.
Please,
Yep,
just on your YouTube. You got it.
YouTube here real quick.
Thank you.
I would like to thank the board for giving me this opportunity to speak here tonight. I come to you as a Marshall High School alumni, a parent, and a school teacher from another district. I want to start by expressing my strongest support for Marshall Public Schools and for the community itself. Speaking to you as a teacher, it saddens me to see such a great divide between school and community. It seems to me that over the recent years, there's been quite the debate on what schools or teachers should and should not be addressing with their students. I believe this perception is that schools and teachers are pushing personal agendas and encouraging one side over another. The fact of the matter is none of this is about sides or taking away from one group to give to another. This is not pie, as they say. It is the schools and teachers' responsibility to teach factual information based on current events. It is also the schools and teachers' responsibility to teach critical thinking. These are necessary skills to learn if you want to grow up to be a problem solver, a team player, or just about any skilled profession there is. If we as a society ignore and do not discuss important events or important social issues, then we are ignoring a major learning opportunity and leaving the doors open for social injustices to continue to repeat themselves. We are limiting our children's thought process to be one-track minded. We are hindering their ability to grow up feeling empowered and like they have a voice that deserves to be heard. Discussing a movement such as Black Lives Matter and opening a dialogue is a teachable moment to think critically. It is a time to analyze what is happening in our world, the very place all of our children live in every single day. It is not pushing any one agenda. I want to encourage our community members to open their own dialogue at home. No matter your views on this or any other matter, let it be a learning opportunity for you and your family. Let it spark conversation that is based on research facts. Let students explore multiple resources and gather information in order to make their own theories. Encourage research, discovery, and exploration. Most importantly, talk about what you can do as a family to make everyone feel safe, supported, and welcome in their own school and local community, the very place we all call home. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Meredith.
Thank you.
Up next is Felicia Coates.
Felicia, are you on?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, welcome. Please go ahead.
Okay. Well, I have 4 children in Marshall Public Schools between the middle school and high school building. And what I have to say is, when Marshall chose to take over Albion schools, they also chose to include those students. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so they chose to include our children, and yet there's still division, like as far as when they're in school, where they're still referred to as Albion kids, Marshall kids. So division is already there. And I remember a couple years ago, Marshall tried to make Albion feel included, because I remember they had a design that said, Albion Marshall strive for more. And there was a picture of the Wildcat and the Red Hawk. But a lot of Marshall people complained, and all of a sudden that design went away. So I feel like, why is there always an issue every time they try to make Albion community feel included in something? There's always a big uproar. Yes, I understand the mural. The mural is helping our children who are Black and feel like their life do matter and should matter to Marshall when they're being bullied, being called racial slurs. No one is helping or defending them, but yet they still go to that school because they want better for themselves. They want education, but yet they face so much hardship. But yet every time they try to do something to make themselves feel included in the community, there's always a big uproar and you're trying to knock them down. And I feel like people need to let children make their own decisions. We're adults. We've been through that. But our children are getting hit harder, and it's making it harder for our children to stay in a Marshall Public School when they already know that they're not wanted there. They're not feeling included there whatsoever. So I feel like there has to be a common ground where you make everyone feel included. There will never be equal. We come from 2 different communities, but it has to be some common ground for our children to feel included everywhere in the school system, since their dollars is benefiting Marshall also. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Felicia.
Thank you very much.
Next is Nels Christensen.
Now, as we can see, you got to unmute. There you go.
All right, we good?
Yep.
Welcome. Please go ahead.
Just 3 things. Thank you to the board for supporting the youth NAACP. I was super happy and thankful to see the Facebook post, Rich. So thank you to the board for supporting the kids. 2, thanks to the teachers and the staff and the administration over the high school, Audra and Dave, for supporting them, for standing with our young people and lifting them up. And 3rd, and most importantly, I just want to thank, well, I don't even thank, I just want to say how, proud I am of those young people, how impressed I am by those young people, how inspired I am by those young folks. I just want to lift them up and keep lifting them up. I think that they're amazing. We are, as I think you all know, far, far away from equity and justice in the schools, but I feel like maybe things are getting better. I think like maybe things are changing just a little bit. I'm seeing support from the top, which we haven't seen before, and it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like we're moving in the right direction. So thank you. Let's keep it up. Let's keep lifting those kids up. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you, Nels.
Thank you very much. Who do we have next?
Next is Snyder. Victor,
I think we lost Victoria.
Whoop, she went in the other room.
Victoria, we're still waiting for you. There we go. Can you unmute? There you go. I think you're live.
All right, thank you.
Welcome.
So I just wanted to take this opportunity, again, like many others have said before me, to applaud the Marshall Public School Board in supporting our students. For those that don't know me, I did have a student graduate from Marshall High School a few years ago, currently the mayor of the Albion. And so the well-being of our students attending Marshall is a priority for me. So I do just kind of want to bring the attention to the fact that when I also read the thread of comments, it was very disheartening to see parents just be so understanding, and I shouldn't say not to be understanding of what our students are trying to accomplish. They just want their voices to be heard. They just want to be acknowledged for what they stand for. And I understand not everybody believes in the movement, and that's okay. But you don't have to be hurtful with the words. Your children, our children, everybody's children, like we've seen, are watching, they're listening, and we all need to be better examples. But again, I do applaud you all for your stance on this. I appreciate that. I know that there was another lady that made a mention about the great strides that was taken early on in this merger. I would love to see another type of, coming together. I know that there was a summer right before the merger where we had students from both communities come together to do, sessions and trainings on understanding. It might not hurt to have that done maybe like every 4 years, because every 4 years you have a brand new group of students entering that building. So that just might be some food for thought, something that could continue to help bridge the relationship between the two communities. So I'll just leave it there and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
next we have Sonia Brown.
Sonia, I think you're connected.
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yep.
Okay,
Welcome. Please go ahead.
Thank you. So as a former parent, well, a parent of a former Marshall High School student and a former Albion board member, oh, this one hit me hard. Mr. Lindsay, you and I have not always seen eye to eye, but I have to give credit where credit is due. And I was thoroughly impressed and very much appreciated the statement that you released on behalf of the board last night. It is so refreshing to see that the students are being allowed the space to voice what they want. I am so proud of our young people. You have support in both communities, young people. I want you to know that. And we trust you to lead this movement. And I think it's important that we get behind our students and our youth. They are trying to create the future that they wish to see. We'll be going on to glory, but we leave legacy, and we want strong, independent thinking leaders to take over. So I am just elated to see the courage and the opportunity. Our students are amazing. I also, I wanted to write something down and have this well-prepared speech, and I just couldn't wrap my mind around capturing everything that I'm feeling and thinking. But I do want to point this out. COVID is a pandemic that has affected all of our lives. However, COVID is not the only pandemic that many of our students are facing. Racism is a pandemic. And I want our students to know you have support. Let us know how to support you moving forward. How do you keep the momentum going? How do you make your voices heard? And I urge the school board, I've heard discussions, you have an equity plan in the works. I hope the students have a voice and a seat at that table because they are the most directly impacted individuals. And they're bright and they're thinking about the future and they're acting. So I hope that we as adults continue to listen and support them moving forward. Again, I am very impressed with the school board, your statement and your stance. It was timely. And I'm just here to move forward collectively, effectively, and help support our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have Trish.
Trish, we have you on camera. You ready?
Welcome. Please go ahead.
Can you unmute yourself, Trish, on your machine? There you go.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for doing this tonight and allowing voices in the community. I just want to kind of share some personal thoughts I have in the matter. Last year when Marshall was having the Black Lives Matter march downtown, full support of the movement, I got on their website to see how else I might support them. When I got on the website, it began my concerns, and I want to read just one of their objectives. There are many things on their website when I got on that were concerning to me, but this is something that stuck with me. It has since been removed from the organization's website. It reads, "We disrupt."
We lost you on your audio. Trish, if you're still with us, can you unmute your machine?
It looked to me like her video froze up too. So
Yeah,
she's probably needing to reset.
yeah. See if we can come back to her.
Yeah, and let her back in.
Okay, I will move her to the waiting room and move on to the next.
Who do we have next?
Is that Mr. Hubka?
And this is.
Mr. Hupka.
Mr. Hubka, I think we have you now.
Yes, I just wondered, I heard the sign got put up there and I believe it's of a political nature surrounding all the information last fall through the present time. I wondered if we have a political group, who do we apply to, or how long can we have a sign up?
Mr. Hupka, we're not answering questions specifically during public comment, so you can give us your opinion about that. We'll be sure to mark that down and consider it. Could you let us know what you're thinking?
Joe Hupka, do you have anything else to add?
Is there a particular address where to send a request?
You can contact the superintendent's office if you'd like, or the principal's office, and we'll address it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am going to try and add Trish again.
Just wanted to put out there that I think Zoom is being pretty laggy. So that's why we're experiencing some of these issues.
Laggy is a technical term, correct?
That's what our tech guy told us. So I figured I should make the board aware.
Hey, thanks, Richard.
It still says joining next to her name.
Yeah, that's what I see as well. Perhaps we could let the next individual in, Matthew Johnson, and then we will see if we can get Trish.
Okay.
Sounds good. Lisa said she just got kicked off Zoom.
Matthew, we can see
Zoom
you.
is acting
You're on. Are you live?
I am
Dr.
live.
Johnson.
Yes.
Welcome.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to take a moment to thank the board for the statement and their leadership, and for your actions to support the students and the principal and the teachers. I wanted to say special thanks to Principal Dave Turner. We're proud to count him as an Albion College alum for his support of the students. And we wanted to say thank you to the teachers for their support of the students. But most of all, we wanted to say thanks to the students for having the courage to have their voices heard. And I hope they'll apply to Albion College, because we would be proud to have students like them as part of our student body. The college stands ready as a partner to the school district in any way we can be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll let that one plug go that one time. So thank you, Dr. Johnson. Do we have any other?
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
Able to get Trisha back.
Yeah, I believe we have Trish in the meeting.
She's in the meeting.
Yeah, I see your mute button on. Trish, do we have you now?
I'm back.
Okay. So we lost you when you're referring to the website.
Okay. So just with their objectives, I was fully supportive of the movement last year until I got on the website, and I still support Black Lives. My concern is their objectives. And since I'm not sure when their objectives that were so troubling to me were removed, but they had been removed from the website. One of them is a direct target on the nuclear structure of the family. And to me, no family should be targeted, no matter if they're single parent, extended family. You could even go into same-sex couples and their family. It feels like a target, and I'm concerned about the objectives of the organization, Black Lives Movement. I think that if you're going to allow this in the school, students should really be educated on what the movement and the organization has in their thinking and their leadership. Who is their leadership? And it should be transparent. And I agree with dialogue and teaching history and to grow our community together. The organization is very concerning to me. Very, very concerning. I applaud the students for seeking unity and inclusiveness. This is concerning though. And that's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Who do we have next?
I think that's everyone. We have Mr. Mullins in the waiting room. I'm gonna add him. And we have no one else in the waiting room.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Mr. Mullins, welcome. Please go ahead.
Richard, Tim is waiting for us to go into a closed session.
Oh, geez. I was going to put him into public comment. My apologies.
No, I think you want to wait.
I think I want to wait. Definitely. All right. So we've got all the.
Thank you,
public
Tim. We'll
comments.
bring you along in a second.
Sorry to interrupt. There was an individual by the name of Dunk B that had just joined the waiting room as we were letting Mr. Mullins in.
Do you want to let them go ahead?
Yeah, please let them go ahead.
I believe they were in earlier and may have disconnected. So.
Well, I recognize Mr. Dunklin. Go ahead, Mr. Dunklin.
Mr. Dunklin, unmute yourself. We can see you. There you go. You live?
I'm alive. Thank you.
Welcome.
And I would like to thank the board for allowing the community to share. For those, I am unmuted.
If you have the live stream on, Robert, you're going to need to take that off so you don't get feedback.
Oh, how did I do that?
Well, if you can talk through it, you're fine. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah, I think you're fine now.
Okay. I said I want to thank the board for allowing the community to speak on this issue. Yesterday afternoon, when I saw that post, a parent shared it with me. As a president of this,
you gotta take yourself off. You say you must have yourself on.
Am I coming through?
Yes, but if you can shut out the live stream, you can actually not get the feedback.
Hey,
Okay,
shut off the YouTube video that you're listening to. That's where the lag is coming in. So if you turn off the actual channel that the board is streaming on, then it's fine. We can hear you just fine. It's just that there's a little bit of lag on your end.
Okay, so I've been clicking back and forth. I didn't know where I was. So okay, let me try this. I'm going to go out and come back in, okay?
I don't think you need to go out and come back in. You're fine. We can hear you. So if you just speak freely right now and don't listen to the lag, the background of the YouTube that's playing, then you should be fine.
I can't.
You're fine, Bob. Just go ahead and talk. You're fine.
Okay, let me continue with the discussion I had with a parent last night in reference to the response that she said her students was getting because of the mirror being painted on the library windows. I've been trying all day to try to put something in writing to share my concerns. I find myself here tonight. I want to share with you that Black lives do matter. For 6 years, these students has been in the Marshall Public School system. And they have been feeling the pain. They have been feeling the pain where they felt that their life did not matter. And when our children speak, it is time for the adults to listen. I share with you tonight, these children have spoke. They feel the pain. When we mention Black lives, the slogan Black lives have a real meaning. When more Black men, more Black women in 2020 have died because of police brutality. Not to say that's the issue. The issue with these children is they feeling the pain also. So I want to thank the board, and I want to thank Mr. Turner and Mrs. Granger for their support of these students. There's an old saying that tell us our children will lead us. They have spoken. I ask that we listen. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Do we have anyone else?
There is no one else in the waiting room.
All right, thank you to everyone that commented. Again, this discussion I think has been a good one and much appreciated. And I'm not sure we were necessarily tasked with anything to follow up on, Randy, but if you took anything out of that, we will address that in future sessions. At this point, let's move forward to the consent agenda, which is item 4 on the agenda, and approval of minutes, disbursements and employment. Randy, do you want to take us through those?
Actually, I'll be talking about that in my comments later. So if you want to just go through if you need me to read do you want me to read the backdrop?
No, I can't. If you're going to cover employment during your report. So I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, which is items A through E as presented. Do I have that motion? The motion, and do we have support?
Support.
All right, motion and support. Any discussion? All right, we'll start with Shauna. Shauna?
Unmute. Unmute. Unmute.
I don't
I
think
think
her
I'm pretty
audio
sure
is
she's saying
working.
yes.
She mouthed yes.
Okay.
Okay, all right, Matt. Matt, are you there?
Yeah, he just mouthed yes too. Come on.
You did,
Yes, all right.
Great. Someday we'll tell our grandkids about this, right? So this is fantastic. Larry Williams.
Yes.
Lisa.
Yes.
Carrie.
Yes.
Richard, yes. Amanda.
Yes.
All right, motion carried. All right, let's go on next to the report of the superintendent. Randy, special recognition and new hires.
There you go. Special recognition, Svenja Chapman fills the position of noon hour supervisor at Walters Elementary. Ms. Chapman obtained her GED in Germany. We're happy to have her on board. Mackenzie Nichols fills the position of bus aide in the transportation department. Ms. Nichols is a graduate of Marshall High School, so nice to have her on board, no pun intended. Mackenzie Schuler fills the position noon hour supervisor at Walters Elementary. Ms. Schuler is a graduate of Portland High School. Those are our new hires this time around. We have a retirement. Lori Dopp has worked for Marshall Public Schools intermittently between 1982 and 2021 as a bus driver in our district. Ms. Dopp will retire from her position as bus driver with an estimated 27.5 years of service to this district, which is absolutely amazing. And I don't think we put together the number of miles she's driven, but thank you so much for your service. Lori, it's great to see you have a life in retirement. So congratulations.
I'm thinking a couple times around the moon at least. So
yeah.
Open a new breakfast restaurant.
That concludes that.
Recent COVID-19 impact on schools.
Yes. Richard Compton, do we have this to be able to project or not?
We do have some slides, yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have that whole process that we're going through on a weekly basis called the risk of COVID transmission to schools or in schools with the health department on a weekly basis. And I thought it was important for you to see the last 6 weeks trend on this weekly basis. I'm going to tell you the first column in the section is the 7-day average of new cases coming in. The second column, which is orange, are the number of cases per 100,000 in Calhoun County. The one that's in the gray is the number of cases per 100,000 in the Marshall Public School District. And then the yellow is actually the number of positive COVID cases we've had confirmed or considered probable COVID cases during the same period of time. So if you look at it, week number 1 that's listed there to the left indicates that we were above 100 as far as number of cases per 100,000 in week number 1, which meant we were higher risk than what was determined for Calhoun County in general. The cases per 7-day average was 8.4, and we had 6 COVID positives during that week. When you look at the week number 2, it went to 8.6, a little bit higher on average, 7-day average, but we actually went lower than what the county was in number of cases per 100,000. In week 3, the 7-day average went down to 6.2. We were a little bit higher in our cases per 100,000, but we were within 100 cases, which means that we should be considered the same in regards to community spread. In week 4, we were below the county in 100,000 per 100,000 cases. The average was 7.6. We had 0 cases that were positive that week in our district. The following week, in week 5, it was down to 5.6% average. 232 cases per 100,000 in the county, and we were down to 163. We had 2 cases that were positive in our district, in our schools. And the next week was stayed at 5.6. The county average the county cases per 100,000 went down to 174. We went down to 159, and we only had 2 cases then. If we follow through for this past week, I'm going to get my data from the health department. And by the way, what the health department wants to do is to publish these data points on their dashboard at the county level for the 7 districts that are participating in this information sharing. I've given permission for that to be posted, so that you can, and anyone can go to the data, go to the county health department website and actually see our data for Marshall Public Schools district. This past week, we've had 2 cases that are positive confirmed, actually 3, I'm sorry, for virtual only students that do not interact with our students on campus. And we've had 2 cases of students that have come up positive that are within our school system and in person. We've had 1 case for a staff member, and that was a virtual only staff member. So we're still staying at that low level of how many cases are actually coming up confirmed or probable positive within our district. I think it's a strong indication of positive trend. There may be a little bit of an uptick this week. I'm not sure about the percent 7-day average or the number of cases per 100,000, but we'll see how that goes and keep riding it. You know that we have our first COVID vaccine clinic coming up this coming Friday for all of our staff in Marshall Public Schools, for Marshall or Marlee schools, for the Marshall Academy, for the ISD staff members that serve our district, and for Stark Commonwealth staff members that serve within our district, along with any volunteers that are regularly serving in our schools. The next clinic after that will be our booster clinic on March 19th, which is a Friday as well. And we've changed our 2 Friday schedules to make sure they're only half days for staff and students to allow professional time off so that all of our staff can participate. We've issued another frequently asked question by Dr. Mahalka and Danielle Siebert, our school nurse. And in that frequently asked Q&A, it was all about vaccines. And directly because of that distribution of those answers to questions that are common in people's minds, we were able to see an uptick in some staff members that were on the fence on whether they were going to take the vaccine or not, which is very nice positive impact that our constituents receive. And also I want to thank Dr. Mahalka publicly for that, and Daniel Siebert and Kelly Fitzpatrick for the work that they do on those things. So overall, it's a good trend. Let's keep our fingers crossed that we continue to move forward and we continue to practice all the safety protocols as established in our extended learning plan. Does anybody have any questions on this chart? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Davis. And we have,
Richard,
yep. go ahead.
I didn't have a question on the chart, but just still on the COVID impact. Have you looked into the effects of kids coming back on Wednesday for the elementary school and what other districts have found, if that's increased the risk of transmission?
Yeah, thank you, Carrie. I asked that with the health department and my colleagues around the branch, Berry and Calhoun County. There are some districts that are thinking about coming back to 5 days. Some districts have already been doing it. There's always an increase in risk when you bring kids back more often. And if you end up mitigating the different protocols like 6-foot distancing versus 3 to 6 foot distancing, there is no way that we're going to get to absolute safety, but what we can do is mitigate our risk down to a minimum. And what we're finding is that those buildings that are out there doing that are not in any higher risk per se, as far as the results are concerned, than what we're receiving in our current hybrid model. I have not seen any high schools going beyond a hybrid model at this point. So that still needs to be investigated, because the high school and really the secondary grades, middle school and high school, seem to be the highest risk even within our district, and the highest risk across the board when it comes to schools. But it's because of their social and extracurricular and co-curricular activities outside of school. It seems to put them in that category where they may be exposed a little bit more than our elementary students. We're also finding, quite frankly, that our virtual students are almost at the same level of risk as our middle school students that are within the in-person model. So that's interesting, because it indicates that they're being exposed in family exposure or in family friends and relatives and those types of things when they're outside of the school as well. So, you know, I think the bottom line is, as we move forward in March and we consider what our recommendations are going to be, we're still investigating, Carrie, if there's any modifications that we can make within our extended learning plan. And that includes considering 5 days in elementary versus 4. And it includes ways that we can do groupings of cohorts, students within cohorts. So a way of like putting 3 desks together and having that a small cohort that can still be 6 foot apart from another set of 3 desks. So there's all kinds of scenarios that we're looking at as a way to bring kids back safely and more kids back in school.
Yeah, I just think that's probably a priority for parents to be able to have their kids there on that Wednesday, on that 5th day. And since we know that the kids are not doing quite as well virtually as in person, I feel like that should be a priority and just an educational aspect too, if we aren't seeing any increase in spread.
Yeah, it could be a priority for most. There are still going to be parents that'll choose not to have kids in person, and we understand that, but trying to broaden the opportunity for that would be an important consideration to have right now.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about everybody back. I'm just saying,
Right.
if we have kids 4 days, those kids want to be there. And so that 5th day is probably going to be important to them. Whereas the kids that are already virtual and are choosing to be virtual and don't want to be in person, I certainly would like them to have the option with it. But I don't think having a 5th day at the elementary school has to be tied to some of the other things. Like, we don't have to be ready to bring everybody back just to have that 5th day.
Yeah, I'll be working with the leadership on that before we get to the first meeting in March, which is March 8th.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, anyone have anything else on the recent COVID impacts? All right, leadership team reports. Thank you to the administrators for their reports. They're very much appreciated. Anybody have any comments or questions about those? All right, we'll move on to item 6, the agenda, discussion and review outcome of special board session.
Was somebody making some? Was there a comment?
I hear somebody trying to comment.
Lisa, you're freezing up. Oh, we can't hear you.
Lisa, are you there?
Lisa froze up. We're gonna have to get her back in.
Okay.
All right. If she comes back in, we can go back. She had a question about the leadership team reports. Randy, do you want to start on the review outcome?
Sure.
Oh, she'll try later. Okay, go ahead with outcome of the special board session.
Okay, yeah. I want to thank you all for that special board session on the bond. It was really very helpful. You know, Richard, kudos to you for the process that we went through and asking everyone to have the opportunity to weigh in on each of those areas. It's very clear that we're going to have a bond in our future. That was a consensus. It's also very clear that we've decided that we're going to go after a November 2021 election for that bond. We're putting together a very specific timeline for you from now until then. And I want you, when you receive that, to include that on your own calendars so that you have those marked. Right now, tomorrow, we're having our core committee to have a discussion about different scenarios on priority lists as identified in that process last week, and from all the feedback that we received. And we're going to package that with numbers as well, so that you can see a number of different scenarios in our next opportunity to meet on this. Our next opportunity to meet right now on the calendar is March 8th during the work session. I'd like to put a significant amount of time on that agenda for that discussion. If you want to bring that up also in a different meeting, we can have that discussion. So I don't know what your pleasure is, Rich, on this, but I think as far as timeline, we're okay to wait until the 8th to have further discussion to finalize or work on finalizing what those priorities in the package may look like.
I think that's fine. And one thing I heard several of the board members mention was to talk about these other potential revenue streams, from grant funding to the sinking fund, what those things can be looked for. And I think you're going to work on that as a piece of that as well. I guess say it another way, what can we do with other revenue sources to do some of these things that need to be done as well?
Yep. Some of those projects that were identified in the list of the 12 buckets can be accomplished through other means of sinking fund and or other resources, but we'll make sure those are identified as well, so you know was on the table and what can be accomplished differently.
Very good. Anybody else have any comments or questions or concerns at this point? All right, and with that, we'll go on to 6B, evaluating the superintendent. Randy, do you want to read through that, or I can?
Pardon me, Rich?
Do you want to read through that, or you want me to?
I'll read the background.
Okay.
Board Policy 1240, evaluation of the superintendent requires the board to evaluate the performance of the superintendent at least annually by March 31st. The board will evaluate the superintendent at the March 8th, 2021 board work session in closed session as requested by the superintendent. A copy of the evaluation tool has been included in the board packets for reference. Results of the evaluation will be released at the March 22nd, 2021 board session, at which time the board will consider a contract extension for the superintendent based on the results of the evaluation. Let me tell you about a little bit of how we got here and where the process is. This tool that we sent you, which is called the Superintendent District Leader Formative Rubric 2.0, is by School Advance. Back in 2016-17, it was offered one of 3 or 4 different methods for evaluating the superintendent. We adopted as the board the School Advance model. The School Advance model has a number of constructs here. So far in March of 17, March of 18, let me double check. Each year, the first year, it was 12 constructs that I looked at with the board and presented to them. The second year, it was 10 more, and there's 11 more constructs that are left that have not been touched in the evaluation process. Because as you're aware, the evaluation that took place, that was for 18 and 2019. The evaluation that would have taken place in 2020 was a skip year based on successive evaluations of highly effective. We are now on the regular scheduled time of March of 2021. There are 11 constructs that will be sent out to you indicating what I'll be presenting on. And then what happens is I come into the board session, closed session, you're going to have a copy of feedback from my leadership team as an evaluation, 360 evaluation of the leadership team on me. You'll see those compiled results. We're going to give you the instruments so that you can set it up now to be able to go through those constructs and give some thought about that as it relates to my evaluation. I'm going to do a self-evaluation on all 11 constructs I'm going to present to you, and I'll have that available for discussion. I'm going to come in and I'm going to present to you each of the 11 constructs. So I'll be talking about evidence and artifacts and documentation about each of those and what we've done in the period of time from April 1 of 2020 through March or through February 28th of 2021. That is the year, the contract year in which you're evaluating. After I present that information, you will go through a rating process that's explained in your packet, led by Rich Lindsay. And then you'll compile that result and give the superintendent a final rating for each of those 11 constructs. At the end of that rating process also, then we have an open discussion about any other issues that need to be brought up relative to performance during that period of time. You can talk about overall impact on the overall rating of my performance for that period of time. Richard, did I miss anything?
No, I think that's a good summary. I mean, one of the things that you and I and Lisa, I think Lisa's probably still not on, talked about last week was Lisa and I would like the opportunity to meet with individual board members over like the end of next week and see what questions people have. And part of the discussion was that when we say the board adopted this, I think Lisa and I are the only two that are left that adopted it. Carrie and Larry, I believe, went through it, but I'm not sure they were there when it was adopted. And obviously, we've got 3 relatively new board members. Well, one brand new board member and 1 relative new board member. So just want to make sure everybody's on the same page and kind of understands what we're doing going into the process. And then also there's been some discussion, a fair amount of discussion about strategic planning and what that's going to look like, going forward. So we want to have this process and then talk about how we might tweak it going forward or other options we might have. So.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up about the 2 of you going through the training, because we brought down trainers from MASB or MASA, and they trained on School Advanced to the board. They also, I sent all my leadership team or principals team to training specifically on this instrument as well. And that was a couple-day training. And I'm using the same instrument for the administrative team, but it's not called district leadership, it's called principals. So it's the same format, and we're using School Advanced throughout that process. So I'm glad that you guys are going to meet. I certainly hope other board members take advantage of that opportunity.
Does anybody have any questions?
So I am also glad that we're going to meet, because it seems, I'm counting the pages of the evaluation and it's up to 56 pages. And so I need some clarity on exactly what all of these things mean. And I did notice in the paragraph at the top, it says, see School Advanced Administrator Evaluation User Manual. Is that something that we should be looking at?
Let me see if I can.
That's a 400-page document that we'll give you that night.
I mean, I want to make sure that I'm doing my job and I'm doing things the way things are supposed to be done. And if there's a user manual for a superintendent evaluation, I think we all should know what that includes.
It's a fair question.
So we'll see if we can get that information with Richard and Lisa. I want to be clear, though, you're not going to go through all those number of pages. You're going to be looking at 11 particular constructs being presented. And then you can look at the other ones if you'd like to, if you've got any questions. And I can, I'll share that document with the 11 constructs that'll be looked at. And then if you'd like to see past performance ratings that went on by the board in 2018 and 2019, we can make that available to you as well.
Are the 11 constructs in this evaluation tool? Because I see domain, factor, and characteristic.
Yes. Each one of those, yes, we'll train you on that because yes, you'll have a document that Kimberly has already put together that we're going to send out to you tomorrow. So you're not confusing it with the formative assessment, big thick thing you're talking about. And then that'll bring out and isolate on the 11 constructs that we'll be looking at. That'll help.
And so
you
you'll present on the 11 constructs, and then we select as a board additional constructs that you present on. Do we do that now? Do we do that later? Do we put you on the spot or what?
No, in the discussion items, that's when you can bring up any other areas that you'd like to focus on or discuss, but those are already been evaluated. They can be updated again along the way. If you guys decide as a group in consensus that you want to focus on planning or something like that, you can bring that up and we can have a discussion. I won't have artifacts on that yet during that presentation. It'll be a matter of you guys looking at where we're currently at, what's expected in the matrix, and then if you want to discuss that with me and consider that as an impact on my evaluation.
Okay. I'm sure Lisa and Richard, since they've been through it, will be able to answer all of my questions.
I will certainly try, as will Lisa, I'm sure. All right, any other questions or comments, concerns from anybody? All right, next we have an action item, board business resolution to permit school boards to meet in person. You want to cover this, Randy?
I do. The board is being asked to consider adopting a resolution adopted by the Michigan Association of School Boards that asks the state to allow school boards to meet either virtually, in person, or a combination of the two beginning immediately. The resolution will be sent to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and to Governor Gretchen Whitmer, providing the board approves its adoption. The purpose of this is because of the multiple times we've asked for clarification legally about our ability to be able to meet in person, mask to mask, and all the safety protocols in place. And MASA and MASB are both in agreement that we should be allowed to do that. We have other elected officials across the state that are being stuck with this as well. So it's not just us, it's some township, government councils and so forth that are not allowed to meet face to face. Yet we have wrestlers on the wrestling mat, and we have different things that are going on with our students. And we really think that we should at least have the option as a board to make that decision locally and not be constricted by the decision in regards to the governor's emergency order. So there's a resolution. Would you like me to read the resolution, Richard?
Yeah, if you can, please go ahead.
Okay. Whereas school districts have been strongly encouraged to begin offering in-person instruction by March 1st, 2021, and each local school board has a responsibility to make that ultimate decision for their school district. And whereas Marshall Public Schools has provided diligently to prepare for and implement the return to in-person learning for all students in grades pre-K, K-12, and post-secondary, and whereas all students and staff are permitted by the state of Michigan, including the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, to attend school in person, and whereas members of the school boards are the only individuals within their school districts who are not permitted to meet in person, and whereas requiring school boards to meet virtually while encouraging students to attend school in person and for staff to work in person sends a mixed message to our community and staff. And whereas the Marshall Public Schools would like the ability to meet in person with strong health and safety mitigation measures in place that are consistent with measures taken for all of our school classes and activities, now therefore be it resolved, Marshall Public Schools request that MDHHS and the governor allow school boards to have the option to meet either virtually, in person, or a combination of the two beginning immediately.
Entertain a motion to that effect.
So move, sir.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? All right, we'll start with Matt,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
Richard, yes, Amanda,
Yes.
and Shauna.
No, I probably should have had discussion.
No, you can just vote no without discussion. All right, motion carries. Shauna, do you want to say anything? Did I go too quickly?
No, you didn't go too quickly. I was like taking notes and I wasn't thinking about that we were going to vote. But what I will say is I'm not opposed to meeting in person. I just feel like we have bigger fish to fry than sending a resolution to the governor about this particular thing. With all of the things that we're dealing with, this is the one thing that we're going to come together and, send a notice to the governor about. So that's why I'm voting no.
Thanks, Shauna. All right, so item 8, public comment. We condensed that into the prior public comment. Item 9 is to go into executive session under section 8E of the Open Meetings Act to consult with our attorney, who I tried to bring into public comment earlier, to consult with its attorney regarding defense strategy pending litigation, and under section 8H, attorney-client privilege. I would entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Support.
Support.
All right, motion support. Any discussion? All right, we'll start with Larry,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
Richard, yes, Amanda,
Yes.
Shauna,
Yes.
and Matt.
Yes.